Hello everyone, we are back in Space Engineers today, working on our Deserts of Kharak build with in the interior of our base runner. Basically, we're continuing with the sped up footage, trying to make these as streamlined as possible, so these episodes are getting a little bit shorter in doing so, and hopefully you guys enjoy just the voiceover work better. So, what we're doing is I'm finishing up piping an area. The lower area, our science facilities and engineering, needs to be piped up to our oxygen tanks and things like that. And so I'm having to cut away the walls. I'm having to go back in and make sure everything is connected properly, because once they are, I can move on to adding some detail and trying to cover up some of the piping and make it a little bit more streamlined. And at this point, you probably see the green on the oxygen tanks signaling that they're being filled full of wonderful, breathable air that our people will be able to use, refill their tanks. As small ships, you can't really become an airtight facility. So at this point in the game, you can really only get oxygen by refilling your oxygen tank manually if you're using this thing to store and create oxygen. Not a bad thing. There's a couple cryopods down here for logging out, travel if people are offline, and also it makes the thing look a little bit more like a science bay. This area here, we're using these small oxygen generators to basically look a little bit more like some type of large machine, and these are just connection points and pipings that is kind of being hooked up into. And we're going to be able to throw some equipment on that ledge, put it behind some glass, and call it basically a giant computer and workspace. We're adding some panels on the sides just for decoration. You can, of course, always go back in and assign those buttons to actually do something. We're throwing beacons and then grinding them down. One, to get rid of the actual beacon logo, and two, to create more of a metallic support structure. And I just now noticed that our computers can actually be placed on a small ship, and they gave these nice little typable monitors, and we're going to be using those as some decorative blocks as well. Now, I'm trying to figure out what all fits back here, trying to make some type of computer mainframe at this point. So we're going to settle with some small miniature kind of modules that would normally go on like the foundries and things like that. A miniature arc furnace to look more like maybe some RAM, memory, physical memory, and things like that. And we're throwing some monitors. Eventually, maybe the monitors might display something, but usually that's not a detail I really enjoy doing. It's not something that I'm really good or know how to do very well. So maybe you guys can help me out with that if you want these things to display anything specific. We have the glass up now. We're just adding some lights to kind of finish off the area. We put some storage containers back there just to look like more computer components. And we're grinding down some objects, trying to figure out what to do over in this section on the wall. Maybe put some type of container that could hold some liquid, but nothing really fit this area very well. And so what we're going to end up doing is essentially what we just did over there, and build some type of tape. If you think back to like the 70s when everything was on these giant tape rolls, that's what I was kind of thinking, even though this is way in the future. But those two kind of, I forget the module name that those are made out of, but they have those circles on them. In my opinion, those are like tape rolls that would be used to hold data and things like that. And then we'll line the backside again with some more kind of objects, some more arc furnaces, kind of arranged in different ways to make it look like a motherboard or some additional electronic components. Kind of make the walls fit a little bit nicer, and then we'll go in and of course put it behind glass like the other. This was quite a bit of a long process, just because of all the little things I had to try and come up with and work together. Was a little bit of a pain, but I know you guys kind of enjoy seeing all these really nice details. noticing that we can see to the other side, which didn't look very good, so I had to put up some more interior walls there just to block vision and to make the thing look a little bit more cohesive. And so that's done. We're adding some lights. Always good to have a good amount, though later on the lights are going to be off because it is going to start affecting my frame rate and overall simulation speed. We're also going to be working on our engine room, which is this section here. And right now I'm just trying to sculpt out the basic shape of the overall room. I have at this point no idea what I'm going to put in there. And here I'm trying to figure out if welders can be used possibly to look like it might be a welding table or some type of workbench, but we didn't have quite enough room for something like that, and so that might be something to put in the armory. Maybe a mech suit or a suit repair station-esque kind of thing that we could do. And so I'm just framing up that monitor. I replaced the side parts with more button panels just because I think it was a nice clean kind of object. We're going to work on the roof a little bit more and try to just finish fleshing out the room in general. And here, this is cool. I really like, at this point we can work on some major details and put some piping that it looks like this is going straight from the computer mainframe right into the engine room, and it's going to go all the way to the back wall and then be covered up with some sort of terminal at some point. And we're going to etch the floor to either side just as another kind of terrain break here. A little bit of a fancy move, and it can affect your movement a little bit and your character can start freaking out. And here, just trying to run around, gonna make this kind of frame, window frame for our fuel rods. That's essentially what these things are in my mind, and they're gonna be, you know, these nuclear powered things. And so I'm making kind of blast shields to keep radiation out, things like that. They're not fully piped up yet, which I need to do, but at this point I just wanted some details in, and then I'm gonna build the piping around it. For me, this room was just such a daunting room. I don't know why, but I think it turned out okay. And of course we're gonna put everything behind glass because that is just a nice way to do things at this point. And we'll light up the back sides of them so they kind of glow through the glass and look pretty cool back there. Now at this point we're going to add these little side rooms, which are basically extra little containment areas, and we'll put some computers just like the rest of the area eventually in there. There's our main computer terminal for the engine room itself. I wanted to see if I could pipe it to the ceiling, but the blocks aren't really flush to the computer, and so that was bugging me. We might end up doing something else in that case. But I do like having these non-connected pipes glow red, because in my opinion it shows maybe some danger, or these are more warning lights rather than functioning conveyors. Yeah, so at this point I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break from the engine room, and I'm gonna start laying out the upper floor. Not much detail gets thrown up in here, but this initial room is going to be the armory. There is some detail gets thrown in here, of course, a door and some shelving, some lockers and things like that, but I do want to eventually add possibly some seating, of course, so people can get on their suits easier. Maybe a full med bay where people can change their suits and make it possibly look like an area to get your suit repaired, which will be pretty cool. And plus this thing needs a spawn point anyways. Not really sure if I liked how this turned out. Trying to connect that vertical kind of pseudo ladder area, a little weird, but we're going to be trying our best going forward on that. I really like having that balcony overlooking though the main storage kind of production areas, as that's really going to be a cool sight to see if there are people running around. Maybe scouts are being launched, and you're going to be watching it all from up here on this deck. Some support columns here just to make the thing look a little bit more structurally sound and to keep this area open. Again, still not 100% sure on what to do up here, but that's going to be in next episode. We're going to be finishing up the interior completely. Alright everyone, so we are going to go ahead and take a final look of the engineering deck. So we're going to go ahead and come down here from the main living area. And we are greeted with all this stuff. So this is all the things you saw in the speed build, mostly. Nothing really changed here. The lights are off, as I said earlier, just to save on some frames and the simulation speed. So if it's a little dark, I apologize. So here is, of course, one of the main computer mainframes, so you guys can see a nice, good look at it and how it looks behind the glass. I could add lights and stuff back in there, maybe give it a nice blue glow, but maybe that's something for a bit later. We are kind of hitting the limit on lights at this point. Another kind of computer mainframe, things like that, with our tape decks. For some reason, that's what I think they are. Cryopods, which we can use, get in. We are hooked up to oxygen, so we won't die while we're in there. Kind of a monitor display room to display maybe important informations. That one will display more information possibly. And then in here, you can see our final kind of fuel rod containment areas. I hope that picks up well, but I'm rather limited at this point. I lined the interior with hangar doors, just so it looks really industrial on the inside. And both sides have that. And then these side rooms have little mainframes as well. We're using kind of rocket pods bolted down to give some piping, spotlights, and just the usual what you guys already saw. There's 2 computer monitors. Maybe these are used to monitor the separate fuel rods themselves. And so that's pretty cool. We'll go ahead and go up and give a quick glimpse on what's going to go in the upper floor. So we'll go ahead and float on up here. There we go. Again, nice railing, good views out onto the kind of production level of things. Some planters to keep things kind of decorative. We'll hop in here. This is going to be the armory once we have it done. And in fact, let's see if I can fit a medbay in here real quick, just because that's something that's going to be needed anyways, and this episode has a little bit of time. So let's grab this. So I can either do this small medbay. I mean, that is something we can try and use, but really I think I want the full-size one in here, so we can actually make it look like we can change our suits and everything. So I will throw that down there. We have access to this, which would be great, and I can put some lockers and some more shelves in this area or something for later. Anyways, I think that's going to do us for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If y'all enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe for more creative goodness. Go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below on what you guys think on the interior so far. Just a little bit farther, and then that'll be done. We'll paint it up, and then I'll release it on the workshop for you all to enjoy and attempt to use in your own builds and possibly in your own survival series. This thing has fairly high survival capabilities, you know. The traverse speed is great on it, and it holds together really well. Anyways, until then, I'll see you guys in the next episode.